in the rise of the second civil rights movement in this country, which is what we are in, I believe, I am loving seeing how we are showing up. I'm loving seeing young people showing up. I'm loving seeing how we are continuing to show up.
You are a magical, just fairy of beautiful song. I just love people who color outside the lines. I have a special place in my heart, and you sound like you know what you're doing.
Thank you so much for saying that. It has been a journey because my music is, it is outside the box.
Look who it is, look who it isn't. Did I seem unsound?
You know, I had a lot of people who were like, well, I don't think people are going to get it. I don't know if people are going to understand it. And I kind of had to just go out on a limb and trust that my conviction behind my storytelling and my conviction behind the music that I make would come through, and that it would resonate with people. So I'm really happy to know that it has. That makes me really, really happy. That's the success for me, you know.
I love that because we all know how fickle this industry is, and also as much as we like to say that we want to embrace unique and different and open and all of that, we like to put people in their little boxes.
Exactly.
You're a Black girl that's doing
exactly.
So, not to say that Black people can't be other things, because I'm very much into the fullness of my experience. You know what I mean? It's not
absolutely.
Just being pigeonholed into something just because I'm a Black woman.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I can hear that in what you do. I've always heard that in what you do. Even when you were with the Stoop Kids, it was always something that didn't sound like what they just allow Black artists to just do.
Wow, thank you for saying that. I'm so glad that resonated with you and that comes through. That's very much been my journey. So thank you for that acknowledgement. Thank you.
It. Well, before we get all into it, everybody that comes on real quick, I ask them to tell me who they are, name plus more, beyond, go beyond, and one thing that you love most about who you are.
So, like, I'm Condola Rashad. I am a storyteller. I am a singer-songwriter. I am a space daughter. The one thing I love the most about who I am is my unshakable joy.
The unshakable is the important part. How does one become unshakable?
Part of that answer would be, I don't have the full answer to that. Part of this is because I think just my personality is what it is. And I think ever since I was a young kid, I've always been quite full of joy. Now, that doesn't mean I don't experience anguish and I don't experience pain or anger, but it's just my natural state always kind of gravitates back to a place of gratitude and joy. But also it does take mindfulness. It takes mindfulness, especially in these times. It takes mindfulness to remain joyful when everything around you at times might seem the opposite of that. It takes mindfulness to look around and continue to count the things that you're grateful for, even if you are experiencing pain, even if you are experiencing anguish. But it's so worth it, because when you can still find joy, I think that it allows you to continue fighting, right? Because if you can't find the joy, what are you fighting for? It's like, that's what I feel like even in this time, that's what I'm fighting for, that I'm fighting for what I know to be real, which is joy and unconditional love. And I believe those things to be essential for humanity. So for me, it's like, if I know that those exist, and if I really know that those exist, then I have something to fight for.
I love that. I love that. Fighting for joy. That's like an entire life mantra, honestly. That's really good. Thank you. Thank you for that. So let's get into your deliciousness of your artistry, which we love your music. This is a debut for our
Yeah.
girl Dola. Out here solo Dola.
So, so I what a lot of people don't know about me, that I was actually really excited that a lot of people didn't know this about me, because I love a surprise. I love to surprise an audience, so I do love that. But that I actually started as a musician. As you had said before, I trained classically as a pianist. I don't play classical anymore, but that's how I trained.
But
So when I was a young,
pocket.
right, and so when I was a young person, that was my first form of artistic expression, to the point where when I went to college, my family was actually surprised that I ended up majoring in acting, because they were so sure that I was going to major in music, because that's really what I was doing as a young person. And then when I graduated from college, I immediately went into Lynn Nottage's play Ruined, which was one of the best experiences I've ever had. But what it did was it kind of catapulted my acting career. And so that's just what people that did know about my work, they just knew that I was an actor. So it didn't really leave space for them to know that I was also a musician. So as you said too, I was in this band, Dola and the Stoop Kids, which was one of the most incredible experiences of my life. And so with Space Daughter, I had taken 5 years or so, not to stop doing music, because I never stopped doing music. I mean, it's my life. But in terms of expressing outwardly, I had taken a break, because I realized when I was in Dola and the Stoop Kids, I reached a moment where I realized that both my music career and my acting career were so young, and I was so young that I was not going to be able to sustain both at the same time at that time. Now I can. But at that time, they were both growing. I knew that they were both going to flounder if I tried to do them both at the same time at that time. So I actively said, okay, this is hard, because music is my first passion, but my acting career is a little farther along. So I'm gonna just rock with that for about a couple of years, build that platform, and then I'm just gonna come out the gate as the singer and musician that I am. And that's what I did. And as soon as I did that, billions came through. I had to make space for things. I had to make space.
I'm just trying to put together a little timeline, Dola, because how old were you when you were making these really grown decisions? These really well-informed, decisions.
Yeah, so that was in 2013, right? So yeah, I was in like my mid-20s. I was in my mid to late 20s.
That's a really great age to make really smart decisions, like discerned decisions.
Yeah.
Because it could easily be like, you could have easily just been, I'm going to do it. I'm just going to do everything. I can do everything. Why not do everything?
Exactly. I felt it. I could feel that, okay, I'm not going to be able to maintain this. And it's so important to me that it's worth taking the time to make sure that I can maintain it. So then in 2018, my sister, who's one of my biggest supporters as a musician, my sister was like, all right, girl, like, you said a couple years, like, where's it at? Like, where's the music at? It's been a couple years. So then I realized that it was time, and I thought about it, and I felt it. I said, yeah, it is time.
Right.
And Space Daughter, actually, the title Space Daughter came to me before I had written any music. I wrote it down. I didn't know what it was going to be. I didn't know whether it was a song, whether it was the album, whether it was going to be my name as a musical artist. I didn't know. I just knew I was connected to it, and I didn't quite know exactly what it was. So then I got back into the studio with my team, and I co-wrote and co-produced these 5 tracks. And as I'm listening to the tracks, this is like around the end of 2018.
Co-wrote, co-produced.
Yeah, at the beginning of 2019. I'm listening to these tracks, and I'm realizing, and I'm seeing, and I'm hearing a journey. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be a visual EP. And I know exactly what it is. Space Daughter is my playful ode to the divine feminine and all of the spaces that she fills. And so what it's going to be is at the top of every single video, you will see a main representation of this divine feminine energy. And through some action, she will transform into another version of herself to tell a different story of herself, which is what these videos are. And so, again, I was like, all right, as an independent artist, I was so grateful that I was an independent artist at that moment, because I realized that at the time, had I been signed, I don't believe that any major record label would have allowed me to do this in the way that I've done it. I don't
Right.
believe that they would have given me the space, no pun intended, to do Space Daughter.
Listen, you ain't lying.
Yeah, they wouldn't have. They would have tried to put me in a box, especially since I'm technically would be considered a new musical artist. They would try to put me in a box. They would try to make me sound like someone who's already existent. They wouldn't have, and so I just decided, as much of a risk as it was, to invest. And it was that moment. It was that moment where, like, okay, this is that moment where a lot of people invest in their first apartment or they invest in their first home. This is that moment.
Yeah.
And I realized that it was a gamble, but I realized I'm going to invest in the home that is my art. That's the home I want to invest in right now. And I will have what I need to get an apartment in a house that I'm just going to trust that I'll have what I need when I need it. But right now, the money that I have it so that I can create this project. And so I decided to just go for it. So the entire year of 2019,
That's good.
was spent building this project. I mean, every single day, because I was an independent,
Right.
every single day was spent towards some other, I mean, all the way down to the amazing nail artist who's like a dear friend of mine, and she's amazing. And then my other friends who helped me choreograph it and directed it, so every single day was spent crafting one other little puzzle piece of this grand image. And I decided, I never produced anything. I had never directed anything, but I decided, I have a really clear vision. And so you're not a producer until you are one. You're not a director until you are one. So I said, okay, well, as of today, I am one.
Boom.
And I just stepped into those shoes and I started walking in them. And then, I had to just trust that I could do it. And I had to just remember every single day, trust that you can do it, trust that you can do it. And I did it.
Preaching. I had to trust that I could do it.
Yeah.
I had to step into them shoes. And even the idea of understanding that you have something as far as your concept is concerned and how you want to package what you're given. I think that is so dope. It just shows that there's true artistry. There's something there that is more than, I just want to do this music. It's like, I want to show you and give you an experience.
Yeah.
I love that.
That's the storyteller in me. I think I just accepted and learned that anything that I do, there's always going to be a story involved. I'm a Sagittarius. We go big or go home. It's going to be something big.
Y'all, yeah,
stories will be involved.
I get it. I will have this, and I'm going to do it. Thanks. I'm curious, if we were to make a Dola mixtape, what would need to be on it? Like, I can't make this tape without putting these songs, and these are like the songs that we would listen to get to know Dola.
Oh, okay. So, like, honestly, literally anything by Little Dragon. You listen to anything by Little Dragon, you're listening to a little bit of Dola. Little Dragon is probably one of my biggest musical inspirations, and also Chloe and Halle.
We can. No, they are another outside the box, outside the line.
I know. That's why I love them. I really want to collaborate with them. I love them so much. They're a huge inspiration for me.
Like, do your thing, social media. Y'all heard it. That's so good. So good, because they're creative and they're fun.
They're just so inventive, and I just think that they're so talented, and it takes a lot of bravery to just be so inventive, especially in today's society. It takes a lot of courage and spunk to do that, and I love it. I love it.
The creativity and spunk.
Yes.
I want to know, because we all know and love, and I know that, your mom is one of the biggest, brightest mamas in all of Black American history on television. You grew up with the mom we all wish we had. What kind of kid were you? Did she have to get on you in the way that she got on?
My mother was there are certain elements.
She was a rebel. I can
You know what it was? I wasn't a rebel, but I was just a little testy, I think, as
tested the water.
as a very young person.
A sweet kid. Like it just, oh, Dola's so sweet. But you seem like trouble.
I was, you know what it was? I was trouble, but not like in a, how do I put it? I just, again, I've always been this, like my nickname, one of my mother's nicknames for me growing up actually was Space Child. So I actually was always kind of a space child. I was creating worlds. I might have been, and I think I just was always getting into stuff. And I was also a really bad crook. My mom tells this really funny story where I had this thing where I loved Clementines. I loved Clementines. This doesn't make any sense. I love Clementines so much. And so, so my mother got me some Clementines. She got me like a basket of Clementines. But the rule was, 2 Clementines a day. You don't get to eat, because when I was a kid, I was just whatever I like. You don't get to eat the whole basket. Okay, so what I did, so this was my mentality as a kid, which doesn't make any sense, but I guess young Dola was like, I know how I'm going to get around this. I was like, so I'm going to eat more Clementines than that. But, just to be clear, I'm eating more than 2.
I'm going to take your 2 and I'm going to raise you.
Right, I'm going to eat more than 2. And also what I'm going to do to cover up the tracks of that.
Oh, gosh.
Instead of throwing the peels in the garbage can, which is what's going to give me a wet, I'm going to just throw them in the toilet and flush it down the toilet. And that way, nobody will know.
I will get rid of all of it.
I'm getting rid of all the evidence.
Because if a toilet can get rid of poop and tissue, it can surely get rid
Except that it couldn't. And it overflowed. And my mother came into the bathroom with a bathroom flooded of Clementine peels.
Because you couldn't just do the bad thing. You had to take it to the next level.
To the next level. So that was the kind of kid that I was.
Y'all, kids, you see, that's why I'm not convinced on the children. Little tiny crackheads just ruin
I was really it's like your kids, and then we'll they'll just make up a whole reality, you what, or
your mama gotta spend the day.
Oh yeah,
cleaning up. That.
Oh yeah, and then one time I had all this homework in 2nd grade. Apparently, I had all this homework, and I kind of remember doing. But again, it's this weird mentality I had where I was like, you know what, I don't feel like doing homework. But my mom keeps asking me if I have homework, and I can't lie about it. But if I hide the homework in the closet, then technically if she asks me if I have homework, I can say that technically I don't have any homework.
So I'm not
lying. My mom got a call from my teacher being like, she's not doing any of her homework, and she finds loads of homework that I had hidden in the back of the closet. Just decided that it wasn't going to be part of my reality.
I'm going to put this over here, literally, for now.
So that was the kind of kid that I was.
Well, you know what? I'm not, I would be upset. But at the end of the day, if you sat and thought about it, you'd be like, my kid is really a thinker.
Right.
I can't be mad at that.
Right.
That's why parenting doesn't, it's all the qualities that I would want to have for my kid, I would be annoyed to see them played out. I want an independent thinking child. That child is one that questions everything that you say. You're like, that's why, that deal is awful. The kind of kid that I need, I would be like, you and I are going to fist fight when you turn, as soon as you hit 13. I need you at least to be a teenager so I can really get you. Wait.
Exactly.
You just wait. I love that. Thank you for sharing those stories. It helps us get to know. Because you always are the child that you were. That person is down up in there. And I know, I think I read something about you talking about the rediscovering of childhood, and how you were really inspired around this music. Specifically the final video from the
To Fire. Yeah.
Can you talk about that a little bit? About
so,
I love your concept ideas.
Thank you. So, when I created To Fire, it really was just about rediscovering, when I created the song itself.
Said I'm a doer, earth shaker, mountain mover. Get in my lane, babe, I'll burn right through ya.
it was really just about rediscovering one's own power, right? That's just really what I was feeling. So that just came that song actually came quite organically. I wasn't trying to, like, okay, just to give a little backstory as to how I often create my music. I don't often like sit down and write a song about something. That's not my thought process. I create the music, and the music informs me what it wants to be about. So we created the music of Two Fire, and then organically the lyrics just start to come, and it's a dialogue between the lyrics and the music, and they inform each other.
Yeah.
It's actually about, like, why are you so dope, and where does that come from, and having that actually come from this connection to the inner child and having it be about that. And that to me was actually something that I thought was more powerful. So I decided to represent that in the video.
See, I love it so much. We constantly see Black trans women be omitted. Already Black women are omitted from a lot of conversations and erased and things like that. But Black trans women never really get that chance either to be added to a list of Black women, especially when we see them in their own depths, where we're saying her name and we're not saying their names. Why? What endears you to this, and why do you think we as a community, I guess Black America, why do you feel like collectively even there's such a rejection?
I think that, well, I could go on a whole rant about that, but in my, if I really go deep down, I feel that all violence is rooted in deep fear. Deep fear. So you feel violent towards the things that you fear. You feel violent towards the people that you fear, that you don't need to fear, but because you have it, it often turns into anger, which turns into violence. Mm-hmm. And homophobia and transphobia they run rampant in our community.
Very much so, yeah.
They do. They really do. And so there's many different layers as to how to combat that. And as a cisgendered woman, I like to create space for trans women to lead a lot of that dialogue. Mm-hmm. And also I feel it's like this. At the end of the day, trans women aren't killing trans women, right? So for me, as a cisgender woman and as a cisgender Black woman, I feel that it is not my intention, nor it is my responsibility to speak for trans women. But as a cisgender woman, what I can do, how I can show up, is creating space for that conversation, that very important conversation about trans lives mattering, to the tables that I'm at, right? So that is because it's like, yeah, you know, it's up to us to show up for each other. So it's up to cisgendered men to have the conversation too. That's a lot where the violence is coming from. So, you know, it's up to people at the cross lines, at the intersections, to speak up for each other. And to not only fight for people who share the exact same identities as we do. We have to show up and fight for each other.
Hey, that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
I love that. I adore your intentionality, and I see that every detail of what you do matters for you. And I love that. I love how you show up. Honestly, Dola, you're a class act. I really dig. I dig.
Thank you.
I dig. Thank you for sharing that too. And before you get out of here, I would love to leave us in a loving, grateful place of gratitude. And you tell us what are 3 things that you are absolutely loving right now, from the mundane to the absolutely huge, like the fact that you have a solo debut EP. Visual.
Yeah. So I'm loving. Okay, so I am loving that, what you just said. I am loving that the project that has been a secret for so long is finally available and finally open for anybody who wants to come across it. I'm happy for that. I am
stream it, y'all, for real. Listen to it. Do whatever you got to do. Make sure that you got it on your Spotify. Put the little heart so that it downloads it. I am loving bubble baths right now. I'm going to just put this out there.
during the quarantine, I discovered the art of the bubble bath. I normally didn't really do that, but like it's become, yeah, it's become a thing. It's like, I call it my princess bath. I take the time to do it every week. It's a thing. And I'm also really loving, to the third thing that I'll say I'm loving is I am loving seeing how in the rise of the second civil rights movement in this country, which is what we are in, I believe, I am loving seeing how we are showing up. I'm loving seeing young people showing up. I'm loving seeing how we are continuing to show up.
I like that too.
Mm-hmm.
It's really interesting, and it's really awesome to see people figure out how they can show up too.
Yeah.
And find their activism, especially these young bucks. I want to.
Mm-hmm.
My knees are also still very much working condition. I enjoy WAP.
Mm-hmm.
So young. But no, Condola, you have been such a joy to talk to today.
You too. You brighten my day.
Yes, you definitely brighten my day.
Real quick with that, yeah. Real with that, yeah.